No, like, I don't even know how that would come up in the office. Like, "Hey, Julian, if you happen to run into Joe on the street, don't say anything to him." Like, what? That's the dumbest shit I've heard. That was just a blatant lie.
Could it have been maybe someone else in the organization, the
No,
Randy?
no, no. Maul didn't tell him that. Nope. So what? Julian came in the office one day and was like, "Hey, I really want to talk to Joe," and we were like, "No!" Like, come on, that's just stupid.
How do you feel about Julian joining Joe this today? Like,
I think it says more about him than it does anything. That's all.
yeah,
You were just posting DV tweets about him a few months ago, and now it was just all jokes. Haha, me and Joe have an understanding.
it does seem like a line was blurred or crossed today. I mean, if you're saying that you never told him to stay away from Joe, or Maul never told him, or anyone ever told him, and he's
There's
saying
been,
that,
there's been times that Joe has said stuff on his pod, and we've said we're not going to say anything on the air. But Julian said I was told I wasn't allowed to even talk to it. Like that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. No one ever said that to him.
do you think it was just kind of assumed no one could speak to Joe? I don't,
I mean, maybe.
yeah.
To be quite honest, if Julian was on Spaces with Joe talking when he was working with us, I would look at it as weird. But no one ever. That didn't even enter my mind that that would be a thing. To let alone say it to him. I think he misspoke. He got caught up and nervous and was trying to save face. Same way with his poem when he was making up that people quit and it was just him and Damaris left. Like Yomi moved to Atlanta. She bought a house with her partner, and then she also shot our Atlanta show. Rel didn't quit. He left because he has two kids and the hours were crazy. Rel shoots My Karma's Beautiful for us, and also if Peach isn't around, would fill in. Like this whole people quit thing. I don't know. I just think Julian is. Go ahead, change the narrative and the truth, the angle. Do what you gotta do to promote your show. I just think it's corny and it's weird that you would joke like, "Oh, it was just back and forth banter," and you joking about domestic violence. He said someone quit, and then another person quit. Seems like a pattern here. And then it was just me and my co-host. Literally, the only two people that left were Yomi, that had been planning for months to move to Atlanta. We knew her date that she was leaving, and she still works with us. Rel, who has two kids and lives in New Jersey, couldn't keep up with the hours. Still works with us though. So yeah, you're just angling things to look crazy and say it's just you and Damaris left when the entire staff is still there.
Mm.
Like, where'd Peach go? Where'd our entire social team go? Where did our booking team? Like, the whole crew is still here. Where'd our merch team go? No one quit. I've been very quiet about the situation to the detriment of our own brand because I fully understand that our listeners have a connection to Julian and wanted more answers. But out of respect for Julian, I had been very quiet. Now you doing this weird, goofy, which is fine. Like if you want to promote your pod, I totally get it. I'm not knocking your hustle. Do what you have to do. But one, don't lie. And number two, don't say domestic violence is jokes. That's all. I have no like I said to you 2 weeks ago, week ago. I do not want to see Julian fail. Have at it. Just don't lie on me. Don't lie on my company, and that's about it.
Why the
I've
podcast?
I have been very very respectful and quiet about the entire thing. Don't just start these narratives because you know how they like Julian's not a dumb person. He knows how this works. He knows when he says certain things how narratives are going to start. He's not dumb. Furthest thing from it. So, as someone that has been quiet about it, I'm just saying, stop lying. No one is trying to silence Julian. I just thought that was super weird when he did the poem thing of trying to like people were quitting. If you had your opinions on other whatever, it's do like you just flat out lying about shit. And no one ever told you you can't talk to like this. It's just weird to me. That's all. And I'm not Julian's enemy. That's why I find it even weirder. I think he doubled down a few times and cleared it up that he was. Yeah, like no, he doubled down and said that we told him he was not allowed to. He would have spoke to Joe in spaces. Like, oh, I've always wanted the combo, but I wasn't allowed to. Like, come on. That's stop it. That's stupid. Yes, if Julian would have done that when he was working for us, I would have looked at it very weird. but there was no time to even have that conversation or that scenario. Like one day, someone would have thought, like, "Hey, Julian, if you happen to be on Spaces, don't speak to Joe." Like that's who would even think that? Maybe this is the naive thing that I don't think everyone is just dying to speak to Joe Budden. So I didn't think that when I'm running a company, the first thing that I have to say is, "Hey, don't lay in Joe's lap." Like I didn't think that was a thing I needed to tell people. So no, it never came up where when we were doing interviews, hey, this is like a big stipulation with us. You can't go in Spaces and have conversations with Joe. Or if you ever happen to see him on the sidewalk, you can't say hello.
Well, we have Imani on stage. I don't know. You raised your hand. You wanted to come up. What's up, man?
No, you was making all the sense in the world. And here's why I think they think you quote unquote got packed out. You were not trying to bring up the real elephant in the room because you didn't want to put attention to your man's on a specific allegation that he has
Thank,
had in the
thank,
past, which I'm not
thank
trying
you,
to get into now.
thank you.
You were trying not to get to that point, and then a question was asked that got to that point, and then he deflected that question completely.
All right, it's good to know that someone's paying attention.
I was listening to that whole like, yo, how does everyone else not see how weird?
Yeah, no, that was weird, man. Just it's okay, and it's nothing wrong with being able to
Yeah,
call that
and
out.
what's funny is somebody that I do have love for, I hate to see being used. And I know for a fact, as someone that has known Joe Budden for over a decade, he is laughing at Julian every time he mutes his mother phone. He is using you. You look nuts. This is not he's not connecting with you like, nah, I see what you're doing. I understand you doing the thumbnails, bro. He's clowning you. Like you look dumb.
Y'all
What
niggas
what Joe
talking.
did was just some strategic like, oh goddamn, you really about wait, you'll come up on the stage? No way. I'm not gonna miss this opportunity. I know Joe is sitting there like, ain't no fucking way he is down to talk. And he took the opportunity. If Julian is a grown man, he do what he wants to do. I would never try to police what he's doing, i.e., why he was completely lying about saying you could never speak to Joe. I just thought it was odd based off the things that he admitted that we never told. We actually told him to chill and not do that. The things that he has posted with those accusations, I'm telling you, no matter what a beef I had with anybody, fired, real beef, whatever, if I think someone is that, there's no way I'm now going to get on stage with them and speak to them.
Yeah, that's right. Rory went on Spaces yesterday with me and he outlined the set of issues he had with Julian for joining Joe Budden on his Spaces. When he was on the space with Joe Budden, Julian would kind of seemingly, well, not even seemingly, say that Rory and Maul gave the direct order not to speak to Joe Budden while they worked, which is why Julian never joined Joe Budden on Spaces, which is why Julian kind of, I guess, took an adversarial approach to Joe Budden. And I mean, this was kind of an interesting foray. It seems like Rory is getting fed up with Julian's moves post exit of the Rory and Maul show. And a lot of people think it's corny. But one thing Rory brought up that was interesting is that Julian looks a little bit crazy going on stages with Joe Budden, considering the things he said about Joe Budden in the past in terms of his domestic violence issues and whatnot. And now we basically see that this whole breakup was tumultuous. I remember around the onset of me making a couple of my videos, people were like, Danny, why are you fishing for information? Why are you always trying to separate pod? This is fine. He's starting a show for the network. And now you can see that was totally wrong. Something happened. And it doesn't even look like Rory and Maul enjoyed the poem that Julian did in regards to his exit from the show.
You go to work, smile, continue to make up for everyone's shortcomings, abandoning your own along the way. But you must be a team player. But a team implies no individual is greater than the whole. You find solace in some of the supporting cast. One quits. Damn. Then another. There's a pattern here. Now it's just you and one other colleague. You and that colleague have dreams of turning the corner in the new year. But like vinyl on 33, it all happens in a flash. You have to make the change that's long overdue. The bond you developed started in disappointment and grew to be genuine. Like anything in life, guys, the takeaway is where the beauty lies. I was deeply committed to my role, both off camera and in front of the lens.
They feel like he was misrepresenting a few things in terms of Yomi and Rel's exit. So basically, it's become a mudslinging battle, and Rory probably feels flat-footed now that Julian's going on the offensive. And we'll see what Julian has to do on his podcast now. I mean, this guy, Julian, he has the chance to get 100,000 views on his second podcast episode if he addresses all of this. If he addresses going on Joe Budden stages, if he addresses Savon taking shots at him.
I heard like they were doing budget cuts and all type conspiracies on the internet.
Uh-oh.
You heard that new pod? That spinoff? Julian, it was a poem. I heard a poem on a pod.
And if he addresses Rory commenting on his presence on Joe Budden stages. Man, this is really, really insane. And I'm looking forward to how all of this plays out. It looks like Rory and Maul's attempt to control the narrative about Julian's breakup has completely backfired. And it might get worse as more information comes out. And I would submit that Rory probably thinks he was hiding information about how Julian was working on the show. Like, I think Rory probably is like, man, I'm going to release this if you keep playing with my name. We got rid of you for a certain reason. There's other rumors as to why Julian might have been let go. All we're hearing is what happened with Julian. Like, a lot of the rumors centered around, oh, Julian may have asked for a raise, and Rory and Maul said no. But now, maybe Rory and Maul might reveal that they got rid of Julian for valid reasons. On top of that, what does Maul think? Because I believe Maul is going to be disgusted by Julian joining Joe Budden as well. And I believe Julian is taking shots at Maul, making it seem like he doesn't have work ethic. I'm like 100% sure that the poetry was reflecting that Maul doesn't have work ethic just because of all the stuff I've seen on camera. And man, it's getting ugly, guys, and only time will tell. With that said, I want to say this was only an excerpt of a 1-hour conversation with Rory. So if you want to hear the full thing, you're going to have to go to Patreon. I didn't want to post the whole thing here. And, you know, follow me on Twitter because that's where a lot of these conversations happen. That's where it goes down. Shout out to everybody who joined us yesterday. Just to summarize, this whole thing popped off when Joe Budden was throwing his space and Julian would go on stage.
Not like trying to buddy up to Joe. I just got
But where
in
was
here
the
to listen.
conversation with Joe? Because Joe's had platforms before. Where was the conversation with Joe before when you were on the platform?
Well, you
'Cause he
can
could've did it then,
understand.
too.
I'm sure everyone in here can understand. Well, if you're in this space, well, you're saying I was with them. Obviously, they had a public thing with Joe, so be it. There are times I wanted to talk about stuff that was happening. We weren't allowed to on the show. Whatever. I kind of let everything fall by the wayside. In that time, like I was, and I was hired by them, so they made it very clear that hey, never talk about these things. Don't
The boogeyman.
talk
So
about,
you were
what I mean?
silent.
So I was never in a position to ever talk to Joe or talk like about him, so to speak. So,
And then the two would talk only for Imani to join and press Julian. But Rory brought up a good point that Imani couldn't bring up how Julian was talking about Joe's DV cases or DV charges. So that's why he sounded a little bit off when trying to make the argument with Julian. And then later on, Rory goes on MySpace and airs Julian out. So let's see where this goes from here. Let's see if they even address it moving forward. They did say they wouldn't address it. Well, Rory said he wouldn't address it on his podcast, but I think Julian will address it on his. All right, y'all. Follow me on Instagram, The Stop TV. Follow me on Twitter, The Stop TV. Follow me on Patreon, The Stop. And we'll take it from there. This is Danny from The Stop. Peace.